Yo, real quick, when someone goes quiet, stops posting, minds their own business, and low-key disappears from the internet, why does everybody suddenly get more curious? Like, bro, are they okay? What are they doing? Why don't they post anymore? Are they secretly rich? Are they secretly broken? Are they secretly a villain in a Netflix series? Let's be honest, people who stay private are suspiciously interesting. Because in a world where everybody is yelling their whole life online, what they ate, where they went, who hurt them, who ghosted them, who looked at their story, the person who says nothing feels powerful. Today we're diving into the psychology of people who stay private. Not secretive, not fake, not I block everyone type. I mean the people who move quiet, share less, observe more, and somehow always feel one step ahead. And trust me, it's way deeper than they're shy. So sit back, because by the end of this, you might realize the private people you know are not boring. They're dangerous, in a peaceful way. All right, let's get into it. First thing you need to understand, people who stay private are not empty. They are full of thoughts, full of emotions, full of stories, full of plans. They just don't feel the need to broadcast it like a breaking news channel. They don't wake up and think, let me update the whole world on my mood today. They wake up and think, let me handle my life. And psychologically, that comes from one powerful trait, internal validation. Private people don't live on outside approval. They don't need 10 people to clap before they believe in themselves. They don't post to feel real. They don't overshare to feel seen. They don't talk just to fill silence. Their confidence comes from the inside, from their standards, their experiences, their self-respect. That's why they don't argue much. They don't explain themselves to everybody. They don't jump into every conversation. Not because they're weak, but because they don't need to. Ever seen someone insult a private person and the private person just smiles or ignores it? And everybody else is like, bro, how are you not mad? Because they already know who they are. And when you know who you are, random noise doesn't shake the building. Second thing, private people are big-time observers. They watch more than they talk. While everyone else is busy proving, posting, performing, and panicking, private people are studying the room. They notice tone, energy, patterns, behavior. They remember who switches up. They remember who listens. They remember who only shows up when they need something. And this is why private people usually read people very well. They don't rush to trust. They don't rush to label. They don't rush to open up. They let time talk. Because Psychology 101, people expose themselves naturally. You don't need to interrogate. You don't need to stalk. You don't need to push. Just watch. And private people are masters at this. That's also why they're hard to manipulate. You can't confuse someone who studies energy. You can't lie comfortably to someone who listens between the words. They catch vibes before sentences finish. Third thing, and this one surprises people, private people feel very deeply. They're not emotionless. They're selective. They don't cry in every room. They don't vent to every ear. They don't dump their pain into random laps. They choose safe spaces. They choose one person instead of the internet. They choose journaling instead of posting. They choose silence instead of drama. And this usually comes from experience. At some point, most private people learn a lesson like, not everybody cares. Not everybody understands. Not everybody protects what you share. So instead of becoming bitter, they became private, which is emotional maturity, not emotional damage. They still love. They still get hurt. They still get excited. They still dream crazy. They just don't invite the whole world into it. Let's talk about something funny real quick. Ever notice how private people always know stuff, but nobody knows their stuff? They'll be like, yeah, I know you and Sarah stopped talking. And you're like, how do you know that? They just shrug. I listen, but ask them, so what's going on in your life? They're like, chilling. Chilling doing what, bro? Building an empire? Healing trauma? Planning to move countries? Starting a business? Training for a comeback? You don't know, because chilling is all you get. And that mystery? That's not accidental. Psychologically, privacy creates control. When everyone knows your moves, they can comment, judge, expect, interfere. When nobody knows your moves, you move free. No pressure, No fake support. No evil eye. No explaining. Just progress. And private people value peace more than attention. That's huge. Another big trait. Private people are mentally independent. They don't need a crowd to make decisions. They think for themselves. They sit with their thoughts. They process before reacting. They question before following. They are comfortable being alone with their mind. And that's rare, because most people are addicted to noise. Music, notifications, opinions, validation, drama, distractions. Silence makes people uncomfortable. But private people, they live there. They know themselves. They've had conversations with their fears. They've argued with their ego. They've cried without an audience. They've rebuilt without applause. That creates a different type of human. Someone solid. Now let's talk about trust. Private people don't give access easily. Not because they think they're better, but because they understand value. They know their time matters. Their energy matters. Their emotions matter. So they don't hand keys to strangers. They let you earn proximity. And when a private person finally opens up to you, that's not casual. That's respect. That means you passed observation, consistency, vibes, intentions. They saw how you treat others. They saw how you handle conflict. They saw how you talk about people when they're not around. And they decided, you're safe. That's rare. And if you ever lose the trust of a private person, you don't get drama. You don't get paragraphs. You don't get exposure posts. You get distance. And that distance is permanent. Because private people don't like chaos. They like clarity. Once you show them who you are, they believe you. Here's another psychological layer people don't talk about. Private people are usually highly self-aware. They know their flaws. They know their triggers. They know what they're working on. So they don't pretend to be perfect online. They don't build fake motivational personalities. They don't sell a lifestyle they don't live. They move in real life. And because they know themselves, they don't compete much. They don't compare much. They're not in a race with the internet. They're in a relationship with their potential. So while someone else is flexing chapter 2, private people are building chapter 10. Quietly, let's talk relationships for a second. Private people love hard, but slow. They don't rush emotional intimacy. They don't trauma bond on day 3. They don't tell their whole life story over one late-night call. They reveal in layers. And that's healthy, because real connection grows. It doesn't explode. Private people want depth, not noise. They don't want 20 friends they can laugh with. They want 2 people they can breathe with. And if a private person chooses you, you're not entertainment. You're home. Another psychology fact. Private people are usually future-focused. They don't spend all their time narrating the present. They're preparing, planning, improving, learning, letting things cook. They understand that announcing everything too early kills momentum. So they don't say, I'm starting a business. They start it. They don't say, I'm changing my life. They change it. Then one day people look up and go, yo, when did that happen? And the private person just smiles. Been happening, silently. But let's clear something up. Being private does not mean antisocial, arrogant, insecure, unfriendly, fake, secretive. Private people can be funny as hell. Warm, kind, loyal, deep. They just don't perform. They don't live life like a reality show. They live it like a mission. There's also a protection side to this. Private people protect their happiness. They learn that not every eye is clean. Not every smile is genuine. Not every listener is safe. So they keep good news sacred. They keep pain sacred. They celebrate quietly. They heal quietly. Because energy is real. Mood is contagious. And peace is expensive. They don't gamble it on attention. One more interesting psychological detail. Private people usually have strong boundaries. They know when to leave. They know when to say no. They know when to stop explaining. They don't overshare to feel connected. They don't overgive to feel needed. They connect with choice, not pressure. And boundaries are a sign of high emotional intelligence, not coldness. Health. And here's something beautiful. Private people are often the realest ones in the room. Because they're not acting. They don't shapeshift for acceptance. They don't change personalities for likes. They don't build characters. They show up as they are. And if that fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No begging. No proving. No chasing. That authenticity makes them magnetic. People feel safe around them, even when they're quiet. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, damn, this sounds like me, let me tell you something. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not boring. You're not weird. You're not missing out. You're wired for depth in a shallow world. And that's powerful. But also remember, privacy doesn't mean isolation. You don't have to disappear completely. You just choose who gets access. Silence is your filter, not your prison. And if you know a private person, respect them.